There's little faith here in a Russian ceasefire. In the shadows of their destroyed church, scarred by the splinters of war, Ukrainians gathered at dawn, armed with their Easter baskets, in a village in the northern Chernihiv region.
My personal opinion is that there will be no ceasefire. And even if there is one, there are no details on where it would apply. On the front line, our soldiers are still fighting. As long as the Russians shoot, the Ukrainians will shoot.
This village was occupied 3 years ago. Russian troops set up an ammunition depot among the pews, destroying the church when Ukrainian forces retook the area.
I don't believe in a ceasefire. Believing in a ceasefire is deceiving yourself. We have already seen that ceasefires have happened many times, and they are simply impossible to trust.
In a rare alignment, but only on the calendar, the Russian Orthodox Church rang in Easter today too. Vladimir Putin's call for a 30-hour Easter truce came as a surprise. But US patience to broker a peace deal is running out, and this move could be an attempt to keep them on side.
With Trump, the pendulum of possibility could go in either extreme. Trump could go all out on Russia's side, as he seems to have largely done thus far, but he could, as he has occasionally threatened to, tariff Russia, sanction Russia, provide Ukraine with arms as never before. And I think the Russians are worried about that possibility and are looking to keep America in the game, if at all possible.
In President Zelensky's slickly produced Easter message, he told Ukrainians the day of peace will come. He knows he needs to keep the US on side too, and is calling the Kremlin's bluff, saying 30 hours, let's make it 30 days. But the truce has barely held for an hour, with both sides blaming the other. These cars were evacuating civilians in the Donetsk region when they were attacked by Russian drones. When they got out the car to check everyone was okay, the drones returned and attacked again. Back at the village, restoration of the church is unlikely. Thousands of dollars are needed to rebuild it. Money the community doesn't have. Since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion, about 530 churches across Ukraine have been damaged or destroyed. For now, the villagers rely on a makeshift wooden church built in the courtyard. A quieter Easter than previous years. Ukraine wanted an extension of the truce. Putin has already ruled one out.
Emily Weather reporting there. Now, a short time ago, I spoke to the Ukrainian MP, Kira Rudik. I asked her if people were feeling more safe during the so-called Easter truce.
We still feel really threatened because, first, yesterday, right when the truce was announced, there were air raid sirens going on because there were some drones attacking Ukraine. And then we have a very good memory of the so-called truce on Christmas that was not honored by Russia, though it was announced by Russia, and there were people killed. Right now, the world should see that really the keys to the peace are in being handled in Moscow. No negotiations with Ukraine are able to stop the war, though when Russia decides to stop fighting, there are obviously less fighting.
What do you make of what Putin is doing right now? Do you feel like he is being genuine?
I think right now he's trying to show President Trump and his administration that are obviously anxious to find a way to end the war quickly. He is showing that he can be negotiated with. However, any kind of like real truce or real peace deal or real ceasefire will have to have some mechanisms of ensuring that it's being held.
Do you then concede that there's going to have to be some territory loss, that there have to be some negotiations for Putin to be able to walk away and save face in this?
Well, Aisha, we are talking a lot about what Ukraine should concede or what should be like our territorial losses. However, we are not talking about the most important side, which is what are the security guarantees? How do we make sure that Putin would not attack us again? And which territories are the security guarantees for? And of course, for us, it's very, very painful, even having hearing like that someone has an idea that we may have to give up on people that are Ukrainians that did nothing wrong and that right now they have to be under Russia's control. We are not ready to do that.
If America steps away, what do you think could happen?
Of course, it will be to Putin's benefit if the United States will step away. That's for sure. However, we hope that our European allies will be able to step up, not only in the support that they are giving us, but also in the security that they're building for themselves. Because we in Ukraine, we are not ready to capitulate. And we just hope that we will be able to reconfigure the security of Europe that we are right now protecting from Russia to the way that will allow us to defend ourselves.
Kira Rudik, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, earlier I was joined by Nina Khrushcheva, a professor of international relations based in New York and granddaughter of the former Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev. I began by asking her whether Putin had any genuine intentions with his Easter ceasefire.
Yes, I think Putin absolutely means this 30 hours. It was a very good peacekeeping gesture for him, especially when the Western world, at least, is accusing him of not really wanting to negotiate and dragging his feet. And so he said, well, I'm not dragging my feet.
Do you think that there is potential for there to be a longer ceasefire then? Is he under pressure from the Americans to get this done, get a deal done, as the Trump administration might say, and get this over the line?
Well, I'm not entirely optimistic that it will be a longer ceasefire. I think it may happen once in a while. They could be quieter. Putin is under pressure, but I don't think he feels pressure. He doesn't want to upset Trump, that's for sure. If there is a ceasefire, if there is a peace agreement, it's really going to be in many ways on Russian terms, because he feels that Russia has an upper hand right now. And if nobody is willing to give the Putin terms, which nobody is willing to give the Putin terms, even Trump, then he would continue the war. And so I'm not entirely sure how all four parties, which is Ukraine, Russia, Europe, and the United States, can actually be on the same table with very different demands for the ceasefire and what it actually means.
You wrote recently that if the war was frozen, in a sense, as it is now, that no one would be happy. Do you still feel like that is the case?
I don't think anybody would be happy. I don't think it's going to be lasting peace. I do think that at this point, the way it stands now, the war frozen the way it is probably is a better option than anything else, because Ukraine is not really in good position. And it's up to Europe now to kind of get it act together and finally put the action where the mouth is. And so far there's a lot of motion going on. Are they going to be willing to do whatever it is Ukraine wants them to do just without the United States? Because the United States seems to be clear that it's out of this war.
If Europe does step in and they are able to offer this so-called security backstop for Ukraine, will that be enough to stop the Russians from going further?
We don't know that. We don't have an answer to this question, what will stop Russians or not. But potentially they may have some better security guarantees that would be acceptable to the Russians. And I think European Union acceptance for Ukraine is really a way to go in the short run, in the long run, in any run that may stop Russia from further advancements.
Nina Khrushcheva, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.